Welcome to the Blazing Cook. Today, two giants are meeting up in a plate. Yes, two giants. I'm talking about the largest country in the world, Russia, and the largest state in the United States, Texas. Yes, they meeting on a plate. Today I'm gonna be making a rosquit salad or Russian salad, ensalada rusa, or Oliver salad, after the guy who invented it back in the 1800s. But I'm also making a Texas style brisket. It partnered up together so well. It's so united, it's so flavorful. Please, let me show you how two giants meet on a plate. All right, so everything is start off with this beautiful Wagyu, American Wagyu cut of meat. This is a whole brisket. It's an American Wagyu beef. And if you don't know what an American Wagyu is, it's the result of crossing breed from Japanese true Wagyu with a high quality continental breed of cattle. And all I'm doing is salting it very well. We're gonna leave it overnight so the salt can penetrate, and in the very next morning we're gonna grab our mix of pepper, pink, white, red, and black pepper, and I just gonna grinder with my grinder, kind of create that little powder, a chunky pepper that we're gonna spread all over our brisket. And the aroma that came from those freshly ground peppers is unreal. Here's our brisket right out of the fridge overnight. The salt has penetrated completely. Look all the intramuscular fat that this brisket had. And all I'm doing is covering it with my pepper. This is gonna create a lot of flavor, but also a lot of bark. Now I'm adding to my grill the pecan wood that I'm smoking this brisket with. I don't particularly like the hickory because it just adds too much of a punch of a smoke to it, instead of just letting the meat to bring out all its flavor. So every hour for 4 hours I'm spraying with apple cider vinegar, water, and I also added to the mix 2 shots of honey whiskey so my meat can stay nice and moist. Now 4 hours is approaching, so I'm putting on my butcher's paper Wagyu beef tallow, and this is how my brisket is looking after 4 hours. Nice bark, but it's still very tough, very rigid to the touch. I'm putting it in there with some of the beef tallow, Wagyu beef tallow, and I'm gonna cover it nice and tightly with the butcher's paper. And this is pretty much what's creating is a pressure cooking inside the smoker for this meat to be nice and yellow-like. It will be kind of like a gelatin. So make sure you get a nice tight seal. And you gotta put this back into the smoker for another 4 hours, for a total of 8 hours on the grill. And then we're gonna let it rest inside of a cooler for at least 2 hours. 3.5, 4 hours prefer, but 2 hours will do the trick. And now this brisket out of my hands is almost falling apart. But look at all these juices. This juices is just screaming tenderness, it's just screaming flavor. And as you see me, I'm bringing it slowly down into a cooler where it's gonna rest for at least 2 hours, but you can do 4. Now for our roshki salad or Russian salad, we're gonna use a large yellow onion, carrots, potatoes, sweet peas, beets, eggs, mayonnaise, white vinegar for a trick that I have in store, and also apple cider vinegar to pickle our yellow onion. So pretty much what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna use the mayonnaise to create a binder. The white vinegar is going to be a trick. Stay tuned for that. And the apple cider, like I mentioned before, is for pickling our onion. Now I'm salting my potatoes. After I added the water, I'm just gonna add a splash of white vinegar. What this does is that your potato will remain whole. And as you mix in the salad, they are not going to become mashed potato. So right now, I'm just dicing everything. I started with my onions so I can set them aside for pickling on the apple cider vinegar. And you're gonna add this. This is the last thing that you add to your potato salad. So right now I'm dicing the carrots, and you want to try to do as even of a size as possible. Every bite needs to be perfect. So as they're slicing them, you dice them and you put into boil. And just like I did with the potato, you want to salt them so you can bring up the flavor of all the vegetables that we are using. We are using potatoes, carrots, beets, sweet peas. So you want to salt every component. But for the first part of this Ruski salad or Russian salad is that we are going to boil everything, bring it to a perfect cook, just like you see here. My potatoes are perfectly cooked, but they remain whole just like when I cut them. And this is just, tastes so good. But they will not disintegrate, becoming a mashed potato when you are mixing. Same thing with the beets. Over here, I'm just slicing them so I can dice them up later. And to peel it, just rub your hand over the skin and the skin comes right off. See, super simple, but oh my God, this adds so much flavor and a beautiful color to the whole Russian salad. And by the way, this salad has become so popular that countries like Guatemala, Peru, Argentina, Ukraine, and other parts of Europe have adopted this salad. Matter of fact, me in the Dominican Republic, I grew up eating it. And that's exactly how we call it. We call it ensalada rusa, roshki salad. And all I'm doing with the beets is just dicing it just like I dice every other vegetable that we are using. Originally, the rushki salad has ham. I'm not using ham because we already making a huge brisket. So all I'm adding is my beets, my carrots, my boiled eggs, my potatoes, and my sweet peas. So to a bowl, they're going. Once again, my potatoes, they're not becoming mashed potato. And I'm adding little bits at a time so I can mix it and incorporate it into my Russian salad. So I'm just mixing it, incorporating all the components so they can be nice and evenly. I'm adding little by little, mixing little by little. And as you can see, my potatoes remain whole. There's nothing that is breaking down, turning it into a mashed potato. I'm adding 3 big tablespoons of mayonnaise. And please resist the urge of wanting to have more mayonnaise. Because as the breaks break down, they go from the silky smooth to the velvety move that the yolk of the eggs will bring to the table. So that creates like a nice velvety taste to the palate. plus it's going to fill in whenever the mayonnaise doesn't. So that way your rosky sala, your ensalada rusa, it doesn't taste just like mayonnaise. At this point, you want to add the onions, but not with the vinegar, because it will break down the mayonnaise. So just mix it up and you'll be perfectly happy with that. Now, look at this brisket. That is a 10-hour brisket. That looks like a 10-hour river of juices. Oh my God, this thing is so scarily tender. I'm afraid that I will break it. And be careful, even though it's been sitting inside of a cooler for 2 hours, still very hot. So as you can see, I already took some of the bark from the top, but I'm just trying to be as careful as possible. But do not discard of all those juices. You can use it as part of your serving when you're slicing this. But look how tender this is. This is the nice teeth. Look, it just, you try to bring it up with your knives without putting any pressure, it just break apart. That's how tender it is. I was giving some to my family that was present, and this is the reaction.
Wow! Wow!
Yes, they were excited for this brisket. Usually I film by myself, I cook by myself, I do everything on my own, just for my family, so whenever they get home, everything will be ready. But this time I had company. But this brisket was smelling so good, it was just screaming, "Eat me now." It was so tender, it was so juicy, so flavorful. As you can see, the juice is still dripping down. And I just sliced it. And it was just time to start plating and giving it to my family who was visiting from Delaware and Dominican Republic. Usually I spend a little bit more time plating my food because I love a good presentation, but this is the simplest it was going to get because everybody was hungry, everybody was in expectation to go ahead and eat. Plus, I didn't need all the attention of all the eyes on me waiting to feed my family. But this is what have turned out. Is two giants in a plate, Texas style brisket and a Russian style salad. And this is just delicious. And my friends, this is what I call blazing.